Hello, and welcome to Superbwoman Sundays at 7. I am your hostess, Janet Neal. I am the founder and queen bee at the Superbwoman. I'm so glad to have you here tonight. For those of you who are here for the first time, welcome. And for those of you who've been here before and are coming back, so grateful to have you back. Welcome to our 2015 series. And I'm so happy tonight we have our guest, Carole Hyatt, who you'll be seeing in just a minute. Very excited to have Carole with us. But let me just take a minute and tell you about the Superbwoman. It comes from my belief that women are powerful beings, and many of us don't realize it. Now, when I say powerful, a lot of people think, having a job or some sort of a position. And what I really mean by that is that they have stepped into their own unique power. And how they do that is by taking the time to step back from their lives and to really understand who they are, what their strengths are, what their values are, what their passions are, and they've crafted and are living a life that supports that. And I know you know women like that, who once they step into their unique power are just amazing and are able to do amazing things and put positive energy out there for all of us. And we all know we need positive energy. And so Carole Hyatt is no exception to this. I have met Carole through mutual friends at networking events and have been so impressed with her. She was one of the very early entrepreneurs, women entrepreneurs out there, and a real fighter for women to become business owners. She has continued to give back in the world, and she'll be telling you more about her Mission Getting to Next series of workshops that are coming up at the end of January, at the end of our conversation. But Carole has written many bestsellers. Her very first one was The Woman Selling Game, and that was a New York Times bestseller. And then that was followed by her next book, which was When Smart People Fail. And I know I've heard of that one myself. So, Carole, I want to welcome you to our show tonight.
No, thank you so much. It's a pleasure, Janet. And when you say powerful women, how wonderful. And I have met so many powerful women all over the world. I speak on 4 continents. I meet remarkable women who are doing everything from great political work to entrepreneurship to just doing very mundane kinds of things, but they're not mundane at all. They're powerful. They are doing and making really fabulous progress. And it's great to see all this progress at this point in time.
Absolutely. Carole, you're saying exactly, you're preaching to the choir here. You're saying exactly what I believe and that I have seen. So, Carole, tell us about your story. How did you get to be the powerful woman that you are?
Well, it's very interesting. I watched my mother. I had a very beautiful mother. She really was an exquisite woman, married to a very interesting man, my father, but he didn't want her to work. It was a time when women shouldn't be working, or he would feel very badly that he was not the breadwinner and she should stay home and be a housewife. A perfectly fine thing to do, but she really wanted to work. And she decided a few things. One, that she was going to get her own job. And her job was going to be being a real estate entrepreneur. Nice thing to do. And my father would go along with this up to a point. The point was, try it all out, get the nice property, see what you could do about it, and then stop it. Just stop. Don't give her what was needed, the money. The money was needed to buy the house, to do the real estate, to then be able to move it over. And I decided very young, I think by the time I was 10 years old, I watched her frustration. I watched her upset in trying to be someone and not having the money to do it. So I decided very early to do the following and say, I am going to make my own money. I want to have my own power. so that I can do what I want to do and not be on a golden chain that is being pulled back and forth. And whatever I did, and I have done 4 different uh, careers and 4 different, actually, I've had 8 careers over the years, all in communication in some way, and done everything from having a children's theater at age 22 to doing CBS work and being a producer and doing children's theater to having a research company. I mean, I just love entrepreneurship. And I always have mostly women on my staff and mostly women who are moving and always have something for women. I remember in the very early days when women were changing and women were deciding to go back to work. And I kept getting telephone calls, more and more calls. And the calls were all about, you know, I'm thinking of starting my own business. I'm thinking I should go to school. My friend so-and-so said I should call you. And it got to a point where I could barely keep my own work going because there were so many phone calls. People were really so eager to find someone who was working. And I decided that anyone who called, what we would do is have them come on the last Friday of the month. Now we're talking 1971. 72, 73, when things were really moving for women. And we'd bring them into our conference room. And all they really wanted to do was to network, to meet each other, to begin to have a strong network with each other and be able to get their own power, their own decisions. And this was a wonderful thing. It really was to watch this. And ever since then, I have been doing workshops for women worldwide about careers. What do you do in your career? And all the different parts of a career and how you manage your careers and how you start your careers. And most of all, today, it's all about transition. You know, Janet, that the average woman today has between 4 and 6 different careers. 4 and 6 different careers. That's a lot. So how do you transition from one career to the next career? What do you do at that point in time when it's different? What do you do as you get older and there are younger people there? How do you manage with that? How do you decide what you're going to do next? Because what you were doing before isn't working anymore. They've merged. You don't like it anymore. You've done enough, but you still have to work. You still need your own economic viability. And that economic viability means more work later and later and later. So I have been working with so many women worldwide who are all in that transition place and deciding, what should I do next? Or I have so many thoughts. Which one of those thoughts should I take next? I have so many opportunities. What opportunity should I have? I have no opportunities I can think of, but in truth, you have many, many opportunities. Your opportunities are so vast and you don't even know it. And that's what we do. We do something called Mission Getting to Next, and it's all the opportunities you can take out and say, okay, this is what's next. This is what I'm going to do. Or this is how I'm going to up the ante with what I do now. Or what I'm going to do is to look at all the possibilities I have and choose one to start with. Or maybe I'm going to do what I call gigs, because that's what's happening today. We start many, many different things. If we love different things, then maybe what you want to do is to try 3, 4, and 5 of them at the same time. And that has its ups, and it sure has its downs. What are they? And what do you need next is the question.
Yeah.
Look at
Carole, let me stop you there for a second, because there's so much you've talked about here, that the ways that you've been helping women. I want to go back to you in particular, of how you got to where you were, because I think your story is a great one. You had mentioned that your parents were not happy with you when you decided that you wanted to go out there and make some money. Tell me a little bit more about that. How did you overcome that?
It was very painful. It was extremely painful because I knew that I didn't want to be on that chain. I didn't want to be like my poor mother. She came on a golden chain, but it was a very, very uncomfortable one. She was depressed. She was upset. She was angry. I didn't want to be one of those people. I wanted my own power, as you put it.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing I did after I graduated from college was to be a teacher, like we all did in those days. The
Right.
days where you are a teacher or you're a nurse or you're a secretary. Um, so I was a teacher, and I loved teaching. I loved it. I loved it because I loved kids, and I loved improvisation with kids because I had been a kid actress. So as a kid actress, I thought acting was great, and I worked with these wonderful kids, and we did Christopher Columbus for history. We did, let's see, let's build a store for arithmetic. Let's do geography and go on a great tour around Manhattan. Let's take all these different things and improvise them. And that was a marvelous, wonderful feeling and a wonderful thing to do. I then one day was on a plane, and I said to myself, and I said to the man sitting next to me, a perfect stranger, he said, "What do you do?" I said, "I'm a teacher, but I'm changing teaching," as only a 21-year-old could say. Changing teaching. I am having children dramatize their studies. And he said, "Oh, what you're doing is creative dramatics." I said, "Really? What's that?" He said, "Just what you're doing. And there's a woman out in Seattle, Washington, who does that at the University of Washington." I said, "Really?" He said, "Yes. And they're having a conference next week." I said, "Where?" And I went out to that conference, and I said, they were doing and had done it for years, everything that I felt I had invented. So I went back to graduate school and began something called creative dramatics and starting a children's theater.
Oh,
I,
that's fabulous.
I did start a theater because no one would hire me as a director. No one wanted me. They wanted a nice man who was going to do this. I started a theater by saying, well, what do I need for theater? I just need some money. So let's raise some money. And I was good at that. I didn't know I was, but I was good at it. And ultimately had 4 companies touring the Eastern Seaboard. We then, CBS was looking for they didn't know whether it was going to be a woman. They didn't think so, but they were looking for someone to do specials. And I got that job to do specials and produce specials for them. And it was just a wonderful experience at the height of what television was about. Television was a time for wonderful things. So one leads to the next because that's all about our careers. We do things, we don't know the next thing's going to happen, but the next thing happens, and then the next thing happens. And if you're open for it and willing to take the risk, and knowing you have, I'm going to use your word again because it's such a great word, Jen. If you feel you have the power to make it happen, and you don't even have to know about it. You just have to be out there saying, I can learn that. I can do that. It's not so hard.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing how if we have a base and we know that we can learn fast and we know that we can bring something, then why not try it? Why not be the person who tries it? And I know you've done that. You've tried.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely, another queen of reinvention here. But I love the way that you put that when you're open to it, you don't even have to know what it is. But if you're open to it, these things happen. And you're a wonderful example, Carole, of when I talk about superb women who are really following what's important to them, even though there may be some struggles along the way. But you were being very true to yourself, and because of that, the door started to open.
That's
So
right.
thank you for being a great example of that.
For all of us, truly. If you have a confidence in yourself, if you get to feel that confidence, and if you get to a sense that if they can do it, why can't you do it? Why not? Why?
Absolutely. So tell me, how did you get to be an author? How did you start writing about the women's selling game? Tell me how you got to that point.
Well, I was teaching a class at a very interesting place called the Women's School. And that was about the early 70s, maybe late 60s. No, I guess it was 70s. And I was running a business at the time. So I was teaching this first women's school that I know of in New York City. And it was all about running your own business. And there were about 24 women there who all had wonderful ideas, or most of them had wonderful ideas, not all, but most, but really good ideas. And I began talking about what do you do with your taxes and how do you really build a company? Because at that time I had a company and I wanted people to know how I did it and how it should be, not it should be done, but how it could be done. Curiously, I kept feeling these women were not going to have businesses. They were going to have little mama papa shops. And little mama papa shops are hard. You spend so much time at it, but you're not really being economically viable.
Right.
So I began thinking about it, and it dawned on me that every single woman in that group had asked the same question. I have this great idea, I can produce it, I can do it, but I want someone to sell for me. And I said, if you don't sell it yourself, you're the one who invented it, you're the one who's created this product or this service or this idea, you have to sell it first. You don't have the money to go out. You can do several things. You can get a partner to sell with you or for you, but it's your idea. You want to bring it into the world. So we stopped that class and started a class called The Selling Game. How do you sell? And what's the culture about selling? What's the problem? Why do we as women never ask for ourselves? We never ask big things for ourselves. We can ask little things. But if it comes to a big thing, we don't do that. I'm still scared. I feel the same way. I'm culturally brought up. If a man is very tall, looks like my father, who is a very strong man, and I have to ask for a lot of money, I can't do this. But that's the first thought. The second thought is, why am I here? Why am I spending my time? I am here because I want to give good service to him and get paid adequately for it. Not a little woman's fee,
Right.
but a real fee that every man gets. And I can remember this so clearly, being on stages with men and saying to men, and how much did you get paid for this gig? And they'll tell you it's the same thing you got, but they got different things. They got a suite, they got a first-class ticket, they got a beautiful golf game out of it, they got other things, and we don't know that that's what we have to ask for. It's not just enough to get the same, it's what are the other perks that you're getting, and the ability to say, how much are you getting? That's culturally very upsetting for most women to ask. It's
I agree.
our mothers say, don't ask about money. That's not a good thing to ask about.
Right.
And I want to tell you a story about this. I have worked with every type of woman, as I said, every type, from prime ministers to women who are housekeepers. I've worked with every type woman of every color, every background, every religion. About 3 years ago, I met a woman at a luncheon that a good friend invited me to. And I said, and what do you do? And she said, I'm out of work. I said, oh, have you been out of work long? And she said, yes, I've been out of work 3 years. I said, 3 years? What did you do before? She said, I was a colonel in the military. I said, well, you must have so many talents. I've never met a woman colonel, but you must have so many talents to become a colonel. That sounds very impressive to me. You must know so much. She said, I do, but no one seems to want me. I said, well, how many interviews have you gone on? She said, well, in 3 years I've gone on 5. 3 of them were out of town. I said, well, what did you find out? She said, well, of the five, three invited me to come to speak about what happened to me as a colonel and being in Afghanistan. I said, how wonderful. So you're now a speaker.
Mhm.
How much are you getting paid for speaking? And she said, paid? Well, they give me sometimes a first class seat to come on a plane, and they always give me a very nice dinner and a very nice, sometimes I even got a suite in a hotel. I said, honey, you better come to Getting to Next. I said, how come you, I mean, this is a wild thing. But she, as a military woman, had always been giving and giving and giving and giving. She was a patriot, a wonderful thing to be, but she didn't think about herself. And
Right.
based on that, I now have something called Mission Getting to Next. And Mission Getting to Next is about bringing people like you, Janet, wonderful, accomplished, powerful civilian women who feel their own power, and put them together with women who are in the military, who have superlative rank. They are generals, they are colonels, they are admirals. And then they get together and they talk to each other and learn from each other in the most remarkable
Mm.
way. Our military women are unbelievable, Janet.
Mm.
They are truly unbelievable. What they have done for themselves. They are true feminists. They don't call themselves that. They
Mm.
have men, male in them, and they have female in them. They have given birth to children many times. They bring up children many times. And they also kill people if they have to in duty, for our country. And it is an astonishing thing to see them. And also, how did they get along with men? What did they do when they had a place that really didn't want women with them? Just like our corporations today still
Right.
don't want us in the top places.
Right.
Just like so many places don't want us in the top place. These women have gotten to the top. And how did they do it? We have so much to learn. As powerful as we are, to learn from them is remarkable. And to learn, and for them to learn from us, because their networks are basically the networks of the military. They don't know us. They
Mm.
don't know who we are. And we all know that it's about who do we know that we can go to? Who is our network? Who are the people that we have that can assist us going from one step to the next step? Who are the people we can talk to about, listen, I have this idea. What do you think? Is it really crazy and stupid? Or does this have some solidity to it? Who should I meet? Where should I go? What should I do?
Mhm.
We have our own boards of directors, our own, they're not personal boards of directors, they're not official boards of directors, but every one of us who thinks has someone who's great at finance for us, someone who's great at thinking strategically for us, someone who is thinking about, gee, this is where the future lies. Are we in the future, or are we just doing old stuff that's not going to have economic viability for you? So
Mm.
we look to our friends, and we need to introduce these incredible women to people like us who will put them together. And we have been working with generals, with colonels, with admirals, with extraordinary women who are in transition having the toughest time. Unless they go back into military, which, and there aren't enough jobs right now,
Mhm.
but there are, believe it or not, 79 women generals today. Before there were maybe 4 or 5. We have 35,000 women who have come out of the military. 35,000.
Hmm.
And they have trouble getting work. It
Wow.
doesn't sound like they should, but
Right.
some do. And that's my mission right now, is to assist them and the women, executive women in transition, who are looking for what's next in their lives. And I'm so happy you're coming, Janet. Not that you don't have what's next in your life, but you will learn from them and they will learn from you. And in that learning, there will be such an extension of thoughts of what's next, how that next can work, and how you can get paid for it, and how you can wake up in the morning and say, I love what I do. I'm not just bored with it. I'm not doing the same old thing over and over again. I am starting fresh. I am starting new. I am starting with something that's an additive. Or we have people who have come through who have said, well, I was great in my company, but I was bored. Well, how can you change? You love your company. Maybe you should be going someplace else in that company. Why stay with the same thing all that time?
Right.
That's boring. We want to keep going, learning, and keeping our lives fresh.
Very inspirational. And just so people know, that is going to be held January 23rd, 24th, and 25th.
Right, in New York City. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are interested, please get in touch with me. I would love to tell you about it. If you are a military woman, we still have 2 spaces left for military women who are retired or about to retire, who are in the upper ranks. And we do have 4 spaces open, unusual, very unusual, but we have 4 spaces open for executive women who are in transition or thinking about retiring or thinking about transition or thinking about change. Meeting with these women on the 23rd, which is a Friday night, 24th, and 25th. And if I can give my telephone number, I would love to do that.
Absolutely, you may do that. And we will also have at the end of this presentation, we will have a slide that will have all your contact information.
Great. And my telephone is 212-874-0469. I'll repeat it. 212-874-0469. Carole Hyatt. And it would be a pleasure to speak with you and see if this is a fit for you. Because it has to be a fit for both of you, the civilians and the military. And boy, I've never had such a marvelous time.
Fabulous. Fabulous. Well, I'm looking forward to it, Carole.
Oh, Janet, you're going to be so powerful there and come away with more than what you have, which is a really big task.
Oh, sweet. Carole, before we go, and we just have a minute left here, I just wanted to ask you, you've helped so many women on their path to help them to become, more than they already are. Who's helped you on your path?
Oh, so many people. You never can do anything alone. So many. I've had so many wonderful people who have helped me. Number one, my mother, watching what she couldn't do. And sometimes a mentor says, this isn't what you want to do. You want to do it differently. Starting with that. Secondly, I've had some remarkable women in my life, and so many men who have shown me the way and the path, and looking up to them. And mentorship is so important. It's really looking how you're going to follow a path on someone you really admire. One of those was a woman named Ellie Guggenheimer. Ellie Guggenheimer was one of the great women in New York City. She had 14 careers. She was the first before Barbara Walters. She had started all sorts of things, including the International Women's Forum. She started, every age she was on, she started the next thing for that age. So when she had children, she started shelters for children. When she had gotten to a very interesting place in her life, she started with it, bringing together interesting women for the first time who were very different with each other. And there is an organization that I've been thrilled to belong to called the International Women's Forum, and they are in 52 states around the world. And every time I travel the world, I will call and someone will greet me and meet me and introduce me to exactly the kind of people that I want to talk to and they want to talk to me. And that is beautiful. So the one message I really have is you've got to keep expanding your network. That's the most important thing you can do. Once you have a good message and a good idea. But once that idea comes,
yeah,
you've got to get it out there. And you only can get it out in the best, truest way is through the ability to network.
Fabulous. Well, that is a wonderful message, Carole, and a great way to end our show tonight. So I just want to thank you again so much for being my guest, and thank you for all the work you've done for so many women that you have touched their lives.
Janet, thank you, and I look forward to seeing you on the 23rd, 24th, and 25th of January. Thank you for coming and giving so much and receiving so much.
Thank you, Carole. And thank you for watching our show tonight and being a part of it. You'll see at the end of this on the YouTube video where to go for more information. If you are interested in talking with me about any way I can help you, I'll have my contact information there as well, janet@thesuperbwoman.com. And then Carole's information will be there as well. So next week, my guest will be Susan Asher, and she is a consultant and the author of the Dude Seriously series of books, where she talks about how to find a job in today's environment, how to use good manners in today's environment, and I know that will be a really interesting and fun conversation. So join us next week, next Sunday, for Superb Woman Sundays at 7. Have a wonderful week. Thanks.